So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a very short span of time within 30 minutes. The idea is to cover your current affairs on a daily basis, but we don't want you to spend your entire day just reading the newspaper. Therefore, we will cover the entire day's current affairs within 30 minutes. Now, just watching this lecture in 30 minutes would be job half done because just after watching it, you need to revise it as well. Why? Well, revision helps in consolidating these current affairs in your memory. Otherwise, you'll quickly forget them. Now, you can revise these current affairs from the notes provided by us, and these notes shall be shared on our Telegram channel. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section just below this video. Okay then, let's begin today's discussion. But first, let's take a look at the list of topics that we shall cover today. So in total, we'll be covering 4 topics, okay? Number 1 on this list is Election Commission of India's voter turnout reform. So basically, Election Commission of India, whenever there are elections, they report on voter turnout. How many voters turned up to vote, right? Now, they are basically conducting some reforms to automate the entire process so that we can get this data real time. Okay, so we'll talk about this. Then there is an island which is under control of Yemen, and currently it is undergoing severe malnutrition. As far as the population of that island is concerned, severe malnourishment is going on. So this humanitarian crisis is occurring at Socotra Island. So we'll talk about Socotra Island, which is under Yemen's control. Then 2 new Ramsar sites have been declared in India. Now, as you all know, that Ramsar sites are wetlands of international importance. Okay, so 2 new wetlands have been declared international Ramsar sites. So we'll talk about Ramsar Convention, and in the end we'll talk about an announcement made by Home Ministry, and they have said that they will complete the 16th Census of India by 1st March 2027. So though this census should have been conducted in 2021, but because of the pandemic, well, it was delayed. Now it will be completed by 2027. So we will talk about Census of India, who conducts Census of India, what are the results, what is the history of Census of India. We'll talk about all these things, okay? So these are the 4 topics that we shall zero in our attention on. Let's start discussing them one by one, starting with ECI's, Election Commission of India's voter turnout reform. Okay. So Election Commission of India is working on its internal processes to ensure that voter turnout numbers are released faster on election day. Generally, whenever elections happen, the number of voters that turned up to a particular booth or a constituency, okay, that data is released after days. But now Election Commission is working on something that would allow Election Commission to release that data real time. So it's basically a technological reform, all right? ECI announced that it would roll out an automatic reporting feature in its new mobile application ECI-net in time for assembly elections in Bihar. So this new reform that would report voter turnout in real time would be tried in the Bihar elections that are due to be in November. Okay, now we'll talk about what this application ECI-net is, but first let's talk about this reform. How would it allow Election Commission of India to report voter turnout in real time? Okay, now presiding officers at each election booth will enter data, number of voters that have turned up to the election booth manually directly into the ECI-net app. Earlier what used to happen was presiding officers used to report that data to their sector officer, and that those sector officers used to report that data to the returning officer, and then returning officer used to update that data online. So it used to take a lot of time. Now presiding officers would directly update that data on ECI-net mobile application. Okay, after every 2 hours they will update voter turnout data. Presiding officers will enter data directly into ECI-net instead of routing. Okay, approximate turnout percentage will now be public shortly after polls close, subject to connectivity. Okay, this significantly reduces time lag from hours/days to real time. So earlier it used to take some days to report this data. Now it will be updated real time. Okay, now as soon as presiding officers update this data on ECI-net web application or mobile application, there is a software within this ECInet mobile application which would aggregate, add up and calculate the percentage of voter turnout. Okay. So this is an automated feature. Only manual updation would be done by presiding officers and the rest of the thing would be taken care of automatically under this application. Now, why is this new reform important? Okay, what is the significance of this reform? First of all, it will enhance electoral transparency because generally public and political parties, opposition political parties have raised concerns that data manipulation happens because whenever there is delay in data updation, they say that some manipulation is happening, okay? Government is manipulating the data. Now that the data would be updated real time, they won't have these complaints. So this would basically improve trust in the electoral process, okay? This would not only strengthen our democracy because now people would trust elections more. And because of the entire process being automated, it will be more accurate also, right? So these are the advantages of this new reform. Now, what else you need to remember? Well, you need to remember about this mobile application, that is ECInet. So the full form is Election Commission's Integrated Networked Interface. So what this mobile application does is it basically combines 40 plus apps and platforms of Election Commission of India. So Election Commission of India was already running 40 plus applications, okay, for voter registration, for electoral registration, for political party registration, everything. So all these 40 plus apps would now be combined into one, that is ECInet. It subsumes existing apps like Voter Helpline app, Voter Turnout app, C-Vigil, Suvidha 2.0, ESMS, Saksham, etc. So this is a single point digital platform that was developed by ECI, and the thing is that nobody can enter data in ECInet except authorized Election Commission officials. Nobody else can manipulate this data. Only authorized Election Commission officials can enter data. That's it. Otherwise, everyone can read this data, but no one can write or enter any data point. Only authorized ECI officials can. Alright. So this is ECInet. Now let's quickly shift to topic number 2. Okay, which is crisis at Socotra Island. Now, as you can see on this map, this is Socotra Island and this is Yemen. Okay, now this is basically Red Sea. Okay, and this strait is known as Bab el Mandab Strait. All right. And this particular region of Africa, this is Africa, this is Asia. So Yemen part is Asia, Somalia is Africa. This particular region of Africa is known as Horn of Africa. As you can see on this map, it lies somewhere here. Okay, Horn of Africa. So it is somewhere close to Horn of Africa and Yemen. Now this Socotra Island is under Yemenis control. Okay. Now there is some population that already resides on Socotra Island, and this population is suffering from, both women and children are suffering from severe malnutrition. Okay, and the reason for that can be because Yemen is currently going through the phase of civil war. There are so many factions, there are so many armed militant groups that are vying for control over the entire country of Yemen. So Yemen is going through civil war. Okay. In fact, Houthis, the famous Houthis, okay, they are attacking, or they control some part of Yemen. Some part of Yemen is controlled by someone else, and some part of Yemen is controlling, or some faction in the civil war is controlling Socotra Island. Nonetheless, Socotra Island is historically under Yemenis control. Okay, so United Arab Emirates and the World Health Organization have launched a comprehensive humanitarian initiative to combat severe malnourishment affecting women and children on Yemen's Socotra Island. Okay, so they have basically announced a 2-year program for this. Now, this news is not that important for us. What is important for us to know is, well, about Socotra Island. Okay, so you understood the location of Socotra Island. Now, let's know something more about Socotra Island. Okay. Now, it is a biodiversity rich island. So, Socotra Island is famous for biodiversity. In fact, It is known as Galapagos of Indian Ocean. Now, Galapagos is an island in Pacific Ocean, okay, which is under the control of Ecuador. Right? Now, Galapagos Island is famous for its biodiversity. There are some unique plants and animal species found on Galapagos Island, which are found nowhere else in the world. So there are so many species on Galapagos Island which are endemic to that island, nowhere else found in the world. Okay. Now, same is the case with Socotra Island, and that is why Socotra Island is known as Galapagos of the Indian Ocean, because Socotra Island is found in Indian Ocean, Galapagos is found in Pacific Ocean. Okay, so it is known for its unique flora and fauna. Now, it lies about 340 kilometers southeast of Yemen in Indian Ocean near Horn of Africa. We have discussed this. Now, to understand under whose political control this island is, you need to understand some facts about the civil war-like situation in Yemen. Okay, so Yemen is currently undergoing a civil war-like situation. As you can see Yemen on this map, right? Now, the thing is, earlier Yemen was ruled by a particular group of people. Now, many people in Yemen rebelled against that group of people. Okay, that group of people that rebelled is known as Houthis. Now, Houthis are backed by Iran. Then, the earlier ruling group that used to rule Yemen but now are fighting against Houthis, okay, they are known as Presidential Leadership Council. They are backed by Saudi Arabia. Okay, and then there is this another group called Southern Transition Council, which is backed by UAE. Mostly Southern Transition Council and Presidential Leadership Council are allies. Okay, Houthis are fighting with everyone. Now, Houthis control this particular region. Leadership Council control this region. Okay, and Southern Transition Council rule this region, including Socotra Island. Clear? So they are fighting amongst themselves to control the entire Yemen country. Clear? Now, it is under Southern Transition Council. Socotra Island is under Southern Transition Council, and UAE basically backs Southern Transition Council. That is why this humanitarian task is being done by UAE and WHO, because UAE already has a presence over this island through Southern Transition Council, right? So it is currently under control of Southern Transition Council, a participant in Yemen civil war backed by UAE. Now, fascinating thing about this island is that the name Socotra of this island, basically many people believe that it is derived from its earlier Sanskrit name Dvipa Sukhadra, which means island abode of bliss, island of happiness basically. And as you can see in this picture, have you ever seen trees like these before? No, right? These trees are found only on Socotra Island. Similarly, there are so many plant species that are only found in Socotra Island. Okay, some special features about this island. Biodiversity. It is famous for its biodiversity, so much so that it has been declared UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2008. Okay, due to its high endemism. Endemism means basically 37% of the plant species found on this island are only found on this island, endemic to Socotra Island only. Okay, the island features coastal plains, limestone plateau, rugged Hagir mountains. Climate is semi-desert climate with low rainfall. The population living there perform these basic activities: fishing, pearl diving, livestock herding, small-scale agriculture. That's it. That's all you need to know as far as this island is concerned. But remember these features because places in news are asked in your prelims examination as MCQs. Okay, so keep a track of these places that occur in news. Alright, now let's move to third news item, which is new Ramsar sites. Okay. Now, India has added 2 new Ramsar sites, Minar in Udaipur and Khichan in Pahalodi, ahead of World Environment Day, taking the total number of Ramsar sites to 91. Okay, so India now has total 91 Ramsar sites. Now, what are Ramsar sites? The thing is that there are many wetlands in India and everywhere else in the world. Okay. Now, wetlands are those areas which are terrestrial areas. These are land areas but they are mostly partly or completely submerged underwater. Okay. So wetlands are those areas which are partly or completely submerged underwater. Okay. These are wetlands. So lakes are part of these wetlands. So lakes are wetlands, ponds are wetlands, okay, marshy areas are wetlands. So these are wetlands and they are very important for environment. Wetlands are very important for environment. Wetlands are very important for biodiversity because most of these wetlands are famous for some of the bird species found there and many other biodiversity, or basically famous for ecological diversity. Okay, so they are important for environment, they are important for biodiversity. Therefore, conserving wetlands is of extreme importance. Now, in 1971, countries all over the world basically gathered in Ramsar, Iran. Okay, and they signed Ramsar Convention. Under this Ramsar Convention, all the wetlands of the world which are of international importance, which are of extreme importance because they need to be conserved, they need to be protected, okay, those would be listed and they would be protected. Okay, so all countries would send their lists of important wetlands. Those important wetlands would be declared as wetlands of international importance or Ramsar sites. Okay, so up till now, India in total had 89 Ramsar sites, though India has countless many wetlands. But 89 of those wetlands were wetlands of international importance. That's why we call them Ramsar sites. Now, India has added 2 more Ramsar sites, taking the total to 91. That's in the news. Okay, so about Ramsar sites, these are wetlands of international importance under the Ramsar Convention signed in 1971 at Ramsar, Iran under UNESCO. The convention recognizes wetlands that provide critical ecosystem services, support biodiversity and sustain local livelihoods because local people are dependent on these wetlands for fishing and other resources. Right? Now, India became a signatory to Ramsar Convention in 1982. And as soon as India became a signatory to this convention, two wetlands from India were declared wetlands of international importance. These were Chilka Lake in Odisha and Kyoladeo National Park in Rajasthan. Okay, then later many more wetlands were added to this list and now the total is 91. Now there is a proper criteria for wetlands to be declared Ramsar sites. Okay, on the website of Ramsar Convention, well, these 9 criteria are mentioned. Okay, of these 9 criteria, if a wetland follows any one, like any one, not all, any one, they are eligible to be declared Ramsar sites. Now, some of these criteria are they contain rare and unique example of natural wetland, supports vulnerable, endangered, critically endangered species, support plant and animal species, so on and so forth. Okay. Now, just give a brief reading, cursory reading to all these 9 criteria. You don't have to remember them by heart. Just give a reading. But remember one thing, that Ramsar site would be that site which follows at least one of these criteria. Okay, that part you need to remember. You don't have to remember all these 9 criteria. Clear? And now let's move on to the last news item of the day, which is Census of India. So India will count its population by March 1st, 2027. So this announcement has been made by Home Ministry, Ministry of Home Affairs. Now, the last census that was conducted in India was in 2011. So after 16-year gap, we will be conducting Census of India. Generally, we take a 10-year gap. This would be a 16-year gap, and the reason for that was because in 2021 we were basically suffering from COVID-19 pandemic. The country was in lockdown phase, so census could not have been conducted. Okay, so from this particular point you get to know that Census of India, calculating or counting the number of people in India, is the job of Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay, now this census would be the 16th census of India. Okay, this would be the 16th census of India. And the 16th census of India would be special. How would it be special? Well, it would be the first digital census. The data would be collected digitally. Okay, so this is the first digital census of India. And this would also be the first caste census of India since independence. Okay, so now while these people who would be conducting census, these people would be counting the number of people, they would be gathering their, or they would be collecting data related to their age, occupation and all that. They would also collect data with respect to their caste. That is why this census would also be the caste census. Now, caste census used to be conducted by Britishers. Okay, the last caste census that was conducted in India was in 1931. But when India got independence, India stopped this practice. But because of continued demand, this time around, in 16th Census of India, India would conduct caste census as well. So remember, 16th Census of India is special on two accounts. It would be the first digital census. It would be the first caste census in independent India's history. Okay. Now, why is 16th Census of India significant? Okay. The thing is, well, India froze its delimitation exercise when it comes to Lok Sabha constituencies. Okay, Lok Sabha elections. And it was decided, it was written in the constitution that the new delimitation would be done after the census data that arrives after 2026. So whenever a census would be conducted after 2026, based on that census data, you will conduct delimitation exercise. Currently, the delimitation is based on 1971 census. Now, people were expecting that, well, the census would be conducted in 2021, then 2031. So, therefore, new delimitation exercise would be done after 2031. But because 2021 census was delayed, now the new census would be in 2027. So, based on the report of this census, delimitation exercises, redrawing of the constituencies for elections in Lok Sabha would also be done. So that is why this census is significant. Okay. Now some more information about Census of India. So census is the official enumeration of population, providing vital statistics about the population, right? Now in India, it is conducted every 10 years. Who conduct census? Remember, Registrar General and Census Commissioner of India. Both of them, Registrar General and Census Commissioner of India. This office comes under Ministry of Home Affairs. Now, in India, census is conducted as per Census Act of 1948 and Census Rules of 1990. Okay, and remember, census can only be conducted as per the law made by Parliament. State legislatures cannot make a law on this. Okay, so census, the law related to census can only be made by Parliament, not states. Clear? Now, as far as history of census in India is concerned, well, census process started in India during British times. There were some early attempts also. There were efforts to count populations in cities like Calcutta, Banaras as early as 1800, with the island of Bombay conducting a census in 1814-15. The first national census was conducted in 1872. Okay, but it was a non-synchronous census. I mean, not all regions of India were counted simultaneously. So, Bihar would have been counted in January, Tamil Nadu would have been counted in December. So, the entire country was not counted simultaneously. That is why 1872 census is called non-synchronous. The first synchronous census in India was conducted in 1881. And from 1881 onwards, it became a 10-year practice. So, the next one was in 1891. Then next in 1901, 1911, 1921, 1931, 1931 being the last caste census also. Okay, and this process continued till 2011. Then in 2021, you all know, because of COVID-19 pandemic, this 16th census got delayed to 2027. Right? So yeah. That's about it as far as the history of census is concerned. And with that, we conclude the entire lecture on current affairs. With that, we conclude June 5, 2025's current affairs. Okay. Now, I hope it added value to your preparation. But I say this always, it would add more value if you're consistent and regular with this lecture. Plus, you revise it. So please do not forget to revise it. And on that note, I'll be signing off with the promise of seeing you again with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.